Ever feel like giant lizards and radioactive dinosaurs have monopolized your midnight monster marathon? Think again, celluloid spelunkers. Tonight on Golden Age Classics, we're unearthing 13 off-the-wall creature features from the 1950s, each one frothier, freakier, and flat-out more fun than Godzilla's scaly tantrums. Strap in, smash that like button, and let the cinematic safari begin. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, 1953. Atomic hubris meets frozen prehistory when an Arctic nuclear test shatters an eons-old glacier and awakens the Rhedosaurus, a hulking reptile with the temper of a tyrannosaurus and the wanderlust of a whale. Picture bomb-white icebergs erupting, the lens diving into a single blinking eye. Goosebumps before its first footfall shakes Wall Street. Physicist Tom Nesbitt must convince Colonel Evans and paleontologist Thurgood Elson that yesterday's fairy tale now chews elevated trains for breakfast, culminating in a Coney Island sniper duel using a radioactive isotope-tipped bullet. Behind the mayhem stands 29-year-old stop-motion prodigy Ray Harryhausen, sweating in a rented garage, articulating armatures frame by frame. To stretch a $210,000 budget, he flopped dorsal plates from his model and textured the beast with bleached crocodile hide so key lights would pop every scale. Director Eugene Laurier plotted landmarks on a wall map, timing the rampage like a slow hurricane through lower Manhattan, while composer David Botolph's urgent brass tattoo mimicked a subway under siege. Predicted merely to break even, the film thundered past $5 million worldwide, proving audiences would pay premium prices for brand-new nightmares, not just universal retreads. Critics applauded its swift 80-minute pace. Children peeked through drive-in windshields. Ray Bradbury bragged that his short story, The Foghorn, now had a cinematic roar. Toho executives took notes. Within 18 months, Godzilla was stomping Tokyo. Yet many historians insist the Rhedosaurus remains the more athletic, more tragic cousin, an ambulatory caution sign warning that curiosity and uranium make lousy roommates. Its skeleton still hangs in genre museums, a scaly memorial to stop-motion genius. Them, 1954. Cue the howl of desert winds over New Mexico's gypsum dunes and the shrill metallic chirp that signals colossal trouble. Radiation-mutated ants, each the size of a bread truck, tunneling beneath atomic-age America. The film opens on a shell-shocked child clutching a broken doll, and director Gordon Douglas steers the terror with documentary precision. Sergeant Ben Peterson joins towering FBI agent Robert Graham and twinkly-eyed entomologist Dr. Harold Medford to trace sugar-smeared clues from ravaged ranch houses to smoldering trailer parks, finally crawling into the ants' echoing brood chambers where walls pulse like living lava. While flamethrowers roar, Dr. Medford's daughter Pat flips post-war gender norms by suiting up and blasting chitin alongside the boys. Behind the termite mound suspense lurks a fascinating production pivot. Warner Brothers initially approved Technicolor 3D, but when the camera rig malfunctioned and costs ballooned, the studio pivoted to monochrome and flat lenses, ironically sharpening the shadows. 11 technicians wrestled piano wires, compressed air pistons, and bicycle chains inside the 14-foot ant puppets. Valves pumped shaving cream saliva across latex jaws, and the creature's infamous yep came from splicing tree frog croaks with shortwave radio static. Audiences devoured the panic, driving a $2.2 million gross on a $1 million cost and launching Hollywood's big bug boom. Variety hailed its grim grip, while the New York Times called it a doozy. Modern scholars point to subtext, Cold War command anxiety, ecological revenge, even proto-feminism, while contemporary blockbusters from Aliens to Stranger Things sample its DNA. 70 years later, one chirp of that sound effect can still raise arm hairs like Geiger needles. Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954. Slip on your cardboard 3D specs and inhale the jungle humidity. We're gliding down Brazil's mist-veiled Amazon, camera half-submerged, chasing fossils of a Devonian missing link that still draws breath beneath lily-dark currents. Ichthyologist David Reed leads a floating research lab, but it's Julie Adams's luminous Kay Lawrence who captures Gilman's silver eyes, triggering one of cinema's most lyrical monster obsessions. Their underwater pas de deux, her white swimsuit fluttering like a ghost orchid while the creature mirrors every graceful kick, is equal parts ballet and biology lesson. Above the surface, Universal wrestled with groundbreaking logistics. Director Jack Arnold shot stereoscopic footage with twin Mitchell cameras in airtight housings. Every reel demanded twice the lighting and precision. Underwater, former Navy frogman Riku Browning wore 50 pounds of foam rubber and a hidden air hose, holding his breath for 4 minutes while executing ballet smooth spins in 10-foot visibility. On land, Ben Chapman donned a heavier suit whose claws carved grooves in studio floors. Released on a $700,000 budget, the film surfed a tidal wave of 3D curiosity to gross over $3 million, spawning 2 sequels and generations of creature cosplay. Critics praised its achingly beautiful terror, while feminist commentators celebrated Kay's scientific credentials. Guillermo del Toro credits it as the seed for The Shape of Water. James Cameron mimicked its POV lunges for The Abyss. Even marine biologists adore it. The gillman inhales through gills and lungs, a plausible evolutionary crossroads. Today, restored prints reveal scale textures and hypnotic bubble trails once lost to scratched matinee reels, proving romance can blossom between gills and lungs, science and superstition, terror and tenderness swirling in the same shadowed lagoon. The Thing from Another World, 1951. Blizzard winds whip the North Pole as Air Force Captain Patrick Hendry reaches an icy research station whose scientists have unearthed a disc-shaped nightmare. And, encased nearby, a towering humanoid vegetable creature played by 6'7" James Arness. Once thawed, the thing drinks canine and human plasma like espresso and seeds the base with ravenous seedlings that sprout from dripping blood. Producer Howard Hawks, officially credited only as mentor, fires overlapping dialogue faster than machine gun bursts, forcing boom operators to hustle through faux snow. Special effects ace Linwood Dunn built an infrared thermite wall gag, a hallway blaze roaring past stuntmen in one breathless take that still singes eyebrows. The $1.6 million budget bought refrigerated sets, so actors' breath would fog authentically. Their terror is half performance, half frostbite. At 87 lean minutes, the film rocketed to $4.25 million domestically, outcrossing every other RKO title that year. Critics lauded its speed and skepticism. Where earlier horrors whispered, "Don't tamper," Hawks's soldiers bark, "Torch it and ask questions later." Modern historians hail Dr. Carrington, whose plea to communicate previews decades of science versus military debates. Carpenter's gore-laden 1982 remake may dominate meme culture, yet Hawks's original remains taut, witty, and paranoid as ever. Listen again to the closing broadcast. Watch the skies everywhere, a marketing mantra that infiltrated posters, radio spots, comics, embedding paranoia into living rooms and planting the seed for an entire generation's UFO dread. It came from beneath the sea, 1955. Depth charge your imagination. A nuclear submarine limps home with radioactive barnacles fused to its hull and tails of tentacles thicker than smokestacks. Commander Pete Matthews teams with marine biologist Leslie Joyce and oceanographer John Carter to confirm a gargantuan octopus, driven food made by H-bomb tests, now prowls the Golden Gate's tidal rips. Streetcars shudder, fishermen vanish, and that iconic bridge sags under rubbery coils. Ray Harryhausen, still smarting from studio penny pinching, solved the 8-arm problem by building a 6-arm stop-motion puppet, the infamous Sexipus. Rear projection plates of San Francisco landmarks and a tabletop water tank let him curl plaster tentacles around miniature piers, each frame requiring tweezers and saintly patience. Director Robert Gordon staged live-action chaos on location, choreographing extras to scream on cue while fog machines masked compositing seams. Costing only $150,000, the picture attached itself to drive-in double bills and suctioned up $1.7 million worldwide, proving underwater threats could rivet landlocked teens. Reviewers scoffed at the rubber Navy jargon, yet cheered the bridge collapse finale, and Domerguez's assertive scientist earned applause from budding STEM-minded girls. Curiously, the original screenplay torpedoed the creature. Harryhausen lobbied for electric netting instead, forecasting debates over humane wildlife deterrence. 6 decades later, tourists still pose on the bridge imagining phantom tentacles, and every October, San Francisco's Aquarium of the Bay screens the film with live cephalopods beside the projector. Tarantula, 1955. The Mojave sunrise paints Butte's blood orange as Professor Gerald Deemer's nutrient serum escapes its lab and supersizes a docile tarantula into a highway-straddling menace. Dr. Matt Hastings and assistant Stephanie Clayton race dusty roads, discovering cattle skeletons picked clean and motels crumbling beneath velvety black legs. Slimmed by mats, the arachnid looms against desert skies, its silhouette twice as haunting for being an actual spider composited into live action. Director Jack Arnold, fresh from Creature, used widescreen vistas to sell scale. A real tarantula ambled across miniature sets filmed in high contrast, then enlarged onto plates, creating eerily fluid movement stop-motion couldn't match. Makeup guru Bud Westmore fitted actor Leo G. Carroll with grotesque acromegaly prosthetics to illustrate the serum's human side effects, mirroring the spider's hunger for limitless growth. Budgeted at $1.1 million, the film spun a $2 million return and endless TV syndication. Eagle-eyed viewers spot a pre-fame Clint Eastwood, oxygen-masked, leading jet fighters that napalm the creature into tar. Critics dismissed bug-eye cinema, yet modern writers praise its ecological undertow and surprisingly sympathetic monster. The tarantula merely feeds. Humanity created the crisis. Restorationists recently uncovered Arnold's unused storyboard showing the spider-scaling Hoover Dam, abandoned when water rigs failed, while Eastwood confessed the napalm scene was his first time inside a cockpit, sparking aviation fandom that led him to direct Firefox for the global silver screen. The Deadly Mantis, 1957. A thunderous iceberg calving near the Arctic cracks a prehistoric tomb, releasing a giant gray mantis that spreads serrated wings and pings military radar like an incoming bomber. Column Joe Parkman partners with paleontologist Ned Jackson and photojournalist Marge Blaine to track the insect southward as it devours an Inuit outpost, downs jets, and finally perches on the Washington Monument like a living Art Deco gargoyle. The film intercuts model mayhem with genuine Air Force scramble footage, crafting an almost instructional panic. Universal International's bean counters leaned on stock film, yet effects supervisor Fred Gnoth built a 200-foot papier-mâché mantis for close-ups. Hydraulic mandibles could shear plywood. Director Nathan Joran shot the model from ant's eye angles, bathing compound eyes in green gels, while William Lava's percussion score rattled tin cans for metallic wing beats. With a $350,000 budget, receipts fluttered past $1 million, giving drive-ins fresh insect fodder. Critics rolled their eyes, but Monster Kids clipped lobby cards, and decades later, Mystery Science Theater 3000 lampooned the movie into affectionate immortality. Entomologists surprisingly appreciate its accurate raptorial strike motion, and Smithsonian curators once hosted a screening beneath the real monument it besieges. In deleted scenes, the creature nested inside Grand Central Terminal, but producers relocated the finale to a Holland Tunnel ventilation shaft to appease New York officials. Gimmicky green cellophane Mantis vision glasses were handed to crowds, a flourish echoed by William Castle's Emergo gag in-house on Haunted Hill. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, 1958. Boozy heiress Nancy Archer cruises desert back roads and collides with a glowing UFO whose silent giant pilot zaps her bloodstream with cosmic radiation. She awakes taller, angrier, and more confident than any cheating husband deserves. A 50-foot goddess in a satin bedsheet, storming town to reclaim philandering Harry and crushing the local dive bar like a beer can. Director Nathan Duran blends soap opera melodrama, jealous floozies, embezzled trust funds with mid-century atomic terror, creating Camp Lightning in a bottle. Produced for a lean $88,000 by schlock king Bernard Woolner, the picture stretched pennies with oversized furniture, forced perspective composites, and matte paintings so crude they circle back to pop art brilliance. Effects man Harry Thomas built Hayes's enormous prosthetic hand for close-ups of convertible snatching. Crew hid inside, wiggling fingers with broom handles while leaf blowers whipped desert grit. The poster, painted by legendary artist Reynold Brown, immortalized Nancy's smoldering scowl decades beyond the film's box office. Critics jeered, yet teen audiences made it a drive-in legend, and feminist scholars reframed Nancy as an avenging angel of suppressed 1950s womanhood. Quentin Tarantino screens it at every New Beverly midnight. Muse sampled dialogue on tour. American Horror Story borrowed her chiffon toga silhouette. The Blob, 1958. A midnight meteor splats into Pennsylvania woods, leaking translucent goo that dissolves whatever it touches, a gelatinous nightmare that grows larger with every screaming soul it absorbs. Teenager Steve Andrews and girlfriend Jane Martin race hot rods, warn unbelieving adults, and barricade themselves inside a movie theater while the Blob oozes through projection ports like ketchup from Hell's squeeze bottle. Producer Jack H. Harris bankrolled the indie for under $120,000, using local Boy Scouts as extras and cheap Eastman color that lent skin tones a suitably queasy hue. Effects artist Bart Sloan brewed the monster from silicone, red dye, and powdered horsehide. By tilting miniature sets upside down, he made the mass crawl across ceilings without animation. Burt Bacharach's bouncy "Beware of the Blob" theme cheekily juxtaposed with on-screen terror, helping the film swallow $4 million in domestic rentals. Critics mumbled drive-in dreck, yet sociologists champion its youth versus authority parable. Teens plead for action while complacent elders sip coffee until Main Street runs red. In 1972, the actual Blob, still beet red, was found in Harris's garage and toured drive-ins, inspiring annual Blobfest celebrations with fire extinguisher CO2 demos and audience run-out reenactments that sell out faster than Comic-Con panels. The Monster That Challenged the World, 1957. An earthquake rattles California's Salton Sea, cracking a deep-water fissure that belches prehistoric Chrysomia larvae, 30-foot, armor-plated mollusks with vacuum hose mouths that drain victims dry. Navy Lieutenant Commander John Twillinger teams with widowed archivist Gail McKenzie to corral the creatures before millions of eggs hatch into a continental takeover. Director Arnold Lavin swaps noir for pseudo-documentary, staging hazmat dives, radio direction sweeps, and a lab countdown that feels ripped from real civil defense drills. Producer Arthur Gardner stretched a $200,000 purse by recycling submarine corridors and hiring ex-Disney sculptor Tom Case to craft 2 animatronic larva heads pumped with air bladders to pulse veins. Cinematographer Lionel Linden tested color stock but reverted to monochrome when slime wouldn't register, opting for high-key lighting that made saline spray glitter. Box office receipts bubbled past $1 million, and reviewers commended its authentic military flavor. Scientists at Scripps Institution later praised its accurate diving protocols, rare for 1950s shockers. Its ecological message resonates. Larvae thrive where runoff pollutes the inland lake, a proto-warning about human contamination. The Giant Gila Monster, 1959. In rural Texas, hot rod mechanic Chase Winstead tunes engines and croons rockabilly when a colossal Gila monster crawls from limestone caverns, derailing teen drag races and knocking bridges like matchsticks. Director Ray Kellogg, strapped for cash, filmed a real lizard atop HO-scale trains, splicing close-ups of locals tearing through mesquite. Shot alongside the killer shrews for a shared $238,000, the film served as a tax write-off for Dallas investors, yet gained immortality through drive-ins. Sullivan wrote 2 twangy songs, The Mushroom Cloud and My Baby's Gone, recorded in a motel room with a borrowed ukulele. Radio mogul Gordon McClendon bankrolled production in exchange for station plugs, arguably the first product placement in monster cinema. Though grosses hovered under $500,000, 80s VHS and Mystery Science Theater 3000 riffing snowballed its cult. Preservationists screen it at North Texas Gila Palooza, where fans rebuild the train set for charity derailments and sip rail spike soda. A lost epilogue draft had Chase hitting Nashville stardom. Budget cuts nixed it, but surviving pages reveal lyrics hinting at radiation dread, predating Dylan's protests. It? The Terror from Beyond Space, 1958. Years before Alien, this brisk gem straps viewers into a rescue rocket returning from Mars with an uninvited passenger, a hulking, bulletproof creature stalking air shafts and draining crew dry. Commander Van Hoesen battles mutiny and dwindling oxygen, while historian Ann Anderson charts the beast's movements in claustrophobic crawl spaces. Director Edward L. Kahn milked terror from sets built on Republic's tiniest stage. Designer William Glasgow lined vents with chicken wire so suit actor Ray Crash Corrigan could contort through them while hidden fans fluttered his gills. A shoestring $150,000 budget, forced ingenuity, rubber claws sharpened with sandpaper, flashlights repurposed as flamethrowers. Regional bookings barely cleared $600,000, yet influence eclipsed income. Jerome Bixby's hunted crew concept became the blueprint for Ridley Scott's 1979 masterpiece, as Dan O'Bannon publicly admitted. Public domain limbo flooded late-night TV, seeping the story into collective memory. Model kit companies still sell the wrinkled gray creature, and NASA historians note the film predicted pressurized water reactor cooling now standard on spacecraft. A deleted scene showed the alien gazing at Earth, but Corrigan's mask lacked eyelids, footage scrapped, later inspiring James Cameron to demand articulate heads for aliens. The Fly, 1958. In a chic Montreal lab, scientist André Delambre perfects a matter transporter that reassembles bodies like jigsaw light. One late night he tests it, unaware a housefly shares the chamber. He rematerialized with a buzzing compound eye, twitching claw, and fractured memory that spares just enough sanity to beg wife Helene to catch the insect before his human genes are lost forever. Vincent Price, urbane as Andre's brother, narrates the tragedy to cynical detective Charis, framing the story as a gothic confession. Kurt Neumann shoots CinemaScope interiors with pastel restraint, trapping horror inside tasteful decor. Makeup maestro Ben Nye sculpted the fly mask's multifaceted lenses from crystal cabochons. Each splintered studio lamps into dizzying kaleidoscopes caught on camera. For the finale, a hydraulic press flattened a rubber dummy filled with gelatin and red ink, the coup made more shocking when Price, playing pity, averts his eyes. Budgeted at $350,000, the film netted $3 million, proving lurid color horror could pull A-list grosses. The line, "Help me, E," squeaked by the fly-sized Andre, trapped in a spiderweb, became playground shorthand for impossible dilemmas. Hedison spent hours training a weighted prosthetic claw to droop like an insect limb, and newly found storyboards reveal an unused montage where Andre perceives time in stop-motion bursts, footage too disturbing for censors, and finally destroyed. And there you have it, 13 radioactive renegades proving the 1950s drive-in was a petri dish where imagination mutated faster than any rubber monster. Which oversized critter clawed deepest into your nightmares? Drop your hot take in the comments, share the list with a fellow horror hound, and slam that subscribe bell so you never miss another excavation of forgotten cinematic gold. New episodes burst from the vault every Friday, so keep the popcorn popping, keep your Geiger counters buzzing, and keep your imagination dangerously overexposed to glorious B-movie radiation.